I'm sitting here in my kitchen, the same one I've cooked in for 47 years, and I've been thinking about something that's taken me almost a century to understand. My name is Eleanor. I'm 95 years old, and if I could go back and change one thing about my life, it wouldn't be the choices I made. It would be how cruelly I spoke to myself about them. I was never kind to the woman I used to be. Not at 20, not at 35, not even at 60. I looked at her in the mirror every single day and found her lacking. Too soft here, too sharp there, too much of this, never enough of that. I cataloged her failures like a shopkeeper counting inventory. The marriage that didn't work, the daughter who barely speaks to me now, the job I stayed in too long because I was afraid, the weight I could never lose, the words I said when I should have stayed quiet, and worse, the words I swallowed when I should have spoken up. When I was 23, I married Robert because everyone said he was a good man, and in many ways he was. He worked hard, he didn't drink much, he came home every night, but there was a coldness between us that I could never name. A distance I thought was my fault for being too difficult to love. I would lie awake at night cataloging everything wrong with me. Too emotional, too demanding, not pretty enough, not interesting enough. I thought if I could just fix myself, smooth out all the rough edges, he would look at me the way I'd seen other men look at their wives. I spent 31 years trying to become someone he could love better, and when he finally left me for a woman from his office, I didn't blame him. I blamed myself for failing at the one thing women were supposed to be good at. For years after that, I would replay every argument, every disappointment, every cold silence, and I would find new ways I had been insufficient. The young woman I was then, the one trying so desperately to hold together a marriage that was broken from the start, I gave her no mercy whatsoever. My daughter Sarah was born when I was 26. I remember holding her in the hospital and feeling this overwhelming terror that I would ruin her. And then I spent the next 40 years proving myself right, at least in my own mind. Every time she cried and I didn't know why, I told myself I was a bad mother. Every time she struggled in school, I told myself I should have read to her more, played with her differently, been someone else entirely. When she went through her angry teenage years and screamed that she hated me, I didn't defend myself. I agreed with her silently, completely. She's 69 now, my Sarah. She calls me once a month, our conversations brief and polite, and I know there's a wall between us that I helped build brick by brick with my own anxiety and self-doubt. I was so consumed with criticizing myself that I didn't see how it made her feel like she had to be perfect too, like love was something you had to earn by being flawless. I wish I could go back and tell that young mother that she was doing her best, that keeping a child fed and safe and mostly happy was enough, that the gap between who she was and who she thought she should be was an illusion. I worked for 33 years as a secretary at an insurance company. It wasn't what I wanted to do. I dreamed of being a teacher, of standing in front of a classroom full of children and opening up the world for them the way my third grade teacher, Mrs. Patterson, had done for me. But after the divorce, I needed steady money and health insurance, and the secretarial job was there and available. I told myself I was taking the coward's way out. I told myself I was wasting my life. Every single morning when I walked into that office, I felt like a failure. What I didn't tell myself, what I couldn't see then, was that I was surviving. I was keeping a roof over our heads and food on the table. I was showing up every day, even when I was exhausted and heartbroken. I was learning skills, making friends with the other women in the office, finding small moments of satisfaction in work done well. But I never gave myself credit for any of that. I just kept the running tally of everything I wasn't. When I was 52, I met a man named Arthur at a church social. He was kind and funny, and he seemed to genuinely enjoy my company, which baffled me. We dated for 3 years, and the whole time I waited for him to realize his mistake. I questioned everything. Why did he laugh at my jokes? Was he just being polite? Why did he want to spend his Sundays with me? Didn't he have better options? I was so busy preparing for him to leave that I never fully let him in. Eventually he did leave, not because he didn't care about me, but because loving someone who can't accept love is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. He told me that, actually, on the day he said goodbye. He said, "Eleanor, I can't convince you that you're worth loving. You have to believe it yourself." I didn't believe him then. I told myself he was making excuses, that the truth was I simply wasn't enough. It's only now, more than 40 years later, that I can see what I did. I pushed away someone who might have been a real companion in my life because I was so committed to the story that I didn't deserve one. The woman I was at 52, still bruised from her divorce, still carrying all that old pain. She needed someone to be gentle with her, and the person who should have been gentlest was me. But I wasn't. I was her harshest critic. My body started changing in my 60s, the way bodies do. Things softened and sagged and hurt in the mornings. I looked in the mirror and saw a stranger, and I hated her. I hated the wrinkles around my eyes, the spots on my hands, the way my clothes fit differently. I felt invisible when I walked down the street, like I'd been erased. And instead of having compassion for this woman who was facing the grief of aging in a world that worships youth, I berated her. I told her she was ugly. I told her she'd let herself go. I told her no wonder nobody wanted her. I'm 95 now, and my body is failing in ways I couldn't have imagined back then. I can barely walk without my cane. My hands shake when I try to button my sweater. I forget words mid-sentence and have to fish around in my mind for them like they're coins dropped down a drain. And you know what I feel when I look at pictures of myself at 65? I think, my God, you were so young. Look at you standing in your garden, your arms still strong enough to dig and plant and carry. Look at you smiling at the camera, your eyes still bright. You were beautiful and you had no idea. All those years I wasted being cruel to myself. All those years I could have been my own friend, my own comfort, my own champion. I think about the running commentary I kept in my head, the constant criticism, the way I picked apart every decision and every failure and every perceived flaw. If anyone else had spoken to me the way I spoke to myself, I would have called it abuse. But because it was coming from inside my own head, I thought it was just the truth. The thing is, that young woman, the one I judged so harshly, she was doing the absolute best she could with what she had. She was raised in a time when women's worth was measured by their ability to please others. She'd been taught that her value came from being chosen by a man, from keeping a home, from not making waves. She didn't have the language for depression or anxiety or trauma. She didn't have therapy or support groups or self-help books or any of the tools we tell people to use now. She just had herself, and she was trying so hard. When her marriage fell apart, she kept going. When she was lonely, she kept going. When she was scared and exhausted and convinced she was doing everything wrong, she still got up every morning and kept going. She raised a daughter who, despite everything, grew up to be independent and strong. She held down a job for 3 decades. She tried, over and over again, to open her heart even when it was terrifying. She survived, and I never once said thank you. I never once said you're doing okay. I never once said I see how hard this is, and I'm proud of you for not giving up. There's a photograph in my living room that my neighbor took about 5 years ago. I'm sitting on my porch in the late afternoon light, and I'm laughing at something. I can't even remember what. When I first saw it, my immediate thought was, look at how old you look at those wrinkles, look at that thinning hair. But lately when I pass by it, I try to practice something different. I try to look at that woman with kindness. I try to see her the way I would see a friend. And what I see is someone who made it to 90 years old, who still finds things to laugh about, who still gets up in the morning and makes herself coffee and sits outside when the weather is nice. Someone who survived everything she thought would destroy her. If I could go back, I would talk to every version of myself with such tenderness. I would tell the 23-year-old bride that the failure of her marriage wouldn't define her, that she would be okay on the other side of it. I would tell the 30-year-old mother who felt like she was drowning that she was doing a good job, that her daughter would remember the love even if the memories got complicated later. I would tell the 50-year-old woman working a job she didn't love that there's dignity in showing up, that survival is its own kind of courage. I would tell the 65-year-old woman grieving her youth that she was still here, still valuable, still deserving of love and joy and all good things. But I can't go back. All I can do is be kind to the woman I am now, and even that is harder than it should be. Old habits die hard. I still catch myself sometimes, starting to spiral into criticism and regret. But I'm trying. I'm trying to speak to myself the way I would speak to someone I loved. I'm trying to forgive myself for all the ways I thought I failed. I'm trying to understand that I was always doing the best I could with what I knew, with what I'd been given, with the tools I had. My daughter called last week, and we talked longer than usual. She told me about a fight she'd had with her own daughter, my granddaughter, and how she felt like she'd handled it all wrong. I could hear in her voice that same harsh self-judgment I've carried my whole life, and it broke my heart. I wanted to tell her not to do what I did, not to waste decades being cruel to herself, not to miss out on her own life because she's too busy cataloging her failures. But I didn't know how to say it in a way she would hear, so I just told her I thought she was a good mother, that I could hear how much she cared, and that her daughter was lucky to have her. I don't know if it helped. I hope it did. I think about all the energy I spent on self-criticism, and I wonder what I could have done with it if I'd directed it anywhere else. I could have written letters. I could have traveled. I could have learned to paint or take photographs or speak another language. I could have built deeper friendships. I could have let myself be loved. I could have experienced joy without immediately questioning whether I deserved it. I could have been present in my own life instead of watching it from a distance, always finding myself lacking. The kindness I wish I'd given myself isn't complicated. It's not about pretending I never made mistakes or that everything I did was perfect. It's just about treating myself like a human being who was trying her best. It's about understanding that I didn't have all the answers, and that was okay. It's about forgiving myself for being young and scared and imperfect. It's about recognizing that the voice in my head that told me I wasn't enough was wrong, and I didn't have to believe it. I'm 95 years old, and I'm running out of time to make peace with my life. But I'm trying. Every day I'm trying. I look at myself in the mirror now, and I try to see myself with compassion. I try to appreciate that this body, as broken down as it is, carried me through 95 years. I try to be grateful for this mind, even when it forgets things, because it's the same mind that figured out how to survive and adapt and keep going when everything felt impossible. If you're listening to this, and you're carrying around that same harsh voice in your head that I carried for so long, I want you to know something. You're doing better than you think you are. The things you criticize yourself for, the ways you think you're failing, most of it isn't true. You're trying. You're showing up. You're doing the best you can with what you have, and that's enough. It's always been enough. Be kind to the person you are right now. Don't wait until you're 95 and looking back with regret at all the years you wasted being your own worst enemy. You deserve your own compassion. You deserve your own understanding. You deserve to be treated with the same gentleness you would offer to someone you love. And that younger version of you, the one who's making mistakes and figuring things out and trying so hard, they deserve your kindness too. They're doing the best they can. We all are. I wish I'd been kinder to the woman I used to be. I wish I'd seen her clearly, loved her fully, forgiven her freely. But all I have is now and this moment and the chance to finally be gentle with myself. I hope you won't wait as long as I did.